Hello and welcome to the Wedding Dish Podcast. Grab your fork and knife and take a seat at our table as we dish on all things weddings. You'll hear stories and tips from real couples and wedding pros about love, life, and entrepreneurship. I am Sarah Alapin, your host of the Wedding Dish Podcast and CEO of Photos from the Hardy and District Bliss. And I am so excited to be bringing you another amazing guest today who is actually a returning guest. Today's guest is a wedding planner who focuses on creating intentional and sustainable events, something she saw a real need for when couples came to her looking for a celebration that was different and truly unique to them. The human behind rad occasions, Radhika Graham, thank you for joining me again.
Thank you for having me back.
I am really excited about this episode. I think it's just such a fun topic, and I just think it's going to be so good. All right, let's dive in. Are you ready?
I am.
Okay, so in our first episode together, which was the first episode of this season, for all of you who have not listened to it yet, it is about inclusivity, and you should go back and listen to it. We dished about inclusivity in the wedding industry and really kind of got down into it. And you mentioned some super cool, totally unique celebrations that you had planned. What is the craziest request that you've gotten from a couple, and how were you able to execute it?
Oh gosh, I feel like I have so many of these. I think I'll go with like my top three. The first one is an eagle flying in the rings. I think I touched on that last time. We had to get the trainer to come down. Well, actually, I should back up. We had to get the sister of the bride to go and hang out with the trainer and figure out like what the cue was going to be and like what you have to do to once you have the bird and get the rings off and everything. So they came from up island, about an hour away from where we are, with an owl and an eagle, both in their separate crates. Like, and these are dog crates that they're coming in. And they were itching to get out. You can hear them like wrestling around in there, and we had to make them wait a little bit. And I was told if there's any peacocks in the vicinity, that the eagle cannot come out. Yeah, I know. So I ended
Oh,
up basically sending my team out to look for peacocks, and we were told that if there are any peacocks, you just start like getting closer and closer to them, and they do not want to be near you, so they will go off and find their own way. And so we were able to get the eagle to fly in with the rings. And yeah, yeah. And the funny thing is the groom for that one, he like proposed it during our planning sessions, and he was kind of hoping that I would say no, I think. But then I was like, oh no, we know somebody for that.
that's amazing. I bet the experience of that for the guests was really cool.
Yes, I think everyone was really shocked when it first happened. I could definitely see from where I was standing the look of surprise and then like a double takes from some people too, and just like awe from other people because it's not something you see every day. And I know I said I had two more, so
Yeah, let's hear it.
the second one is definitely a graveyard wedding. The couple came to me at first just looking for venues, and they said they had this idea, and the reason they do this is because they actually have picnics in graveyards. They go all over the world, and whenever they travel they can make a point to visit the graveyards and like do a photo shoot, have a picnic. And I thought at first that I was getting trolled, but it turned out that I was not. And it ended up being such a beautiful wedding. And it was in front of what's called the Pulley Angel at the Ross Bay Cemetery here. And they had just had everyone stand and did a standing ceremony just right at the grave marker. And we didn't have to get any permits or anything for it, which was really surprising. You could just go and be there.
Wow, that is surprising.
Yeah, I mean, because you need a permit for everything in this city.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
DC based, yeah.
Yeah. And then in, I guess, like My next, yeah, my third one would be we had a drag queen come in, and it was a surprise for everyone, all the guests, and we had it planned specifically that when the couple was telling everybody about like just like general housekeeping, and I was like, we don't have to have you guys do that. And she's like, no, but we need to because the drag queen interrupted when they were saying when last call was. Like we'd already mentioned it already, but it was part of the shtick of them saying last call, her interrupting, and then going into her like, I've just come from the fish factory gig.
The fish factory.
Yeah. Yeah, she even pulled out a stuffed fish from her apron and was like, "Where's
Oh
the
my,
gift table?"
oh my God, I love that so much.
And this, I think, the first song for that wedding was Dolly Parton's "9 to 5."
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was pretty epic.
That's amazing. I love those all so much. They're all so different. They all present with their own unique challenges, I assume.
Oh
Um,
my gosh, yes.
well, let's talk about it. How did you handle the logistics? I mean, you talked a little bit about it in the cemetery wedding, not needing the permit, in the wedding with the eagle, having to physically move peacocks by just proximity moving them. Um, But let's talk a little bit about the logistics. Like what challenges did you basically have to overcome in order to make these happen?
So, I mean, I feel like with anything that we're planning that's extra from a regular wedding day, you have to like have that element of surprise still. So it's like keeping guests in one spot so they don't see what's going on. And like sometimes we're working with venues that don't have a getting ready area. They're wide open courtyards with no space wherever whatsoever to hide people or animals. And we're really just trying to do crowd control, and also the timing of everything too is like it has to be really spot on. There's maybe like a few minutes that you can shift here and there, but you also need to like keep in mind the comfort of the performer or the animals or the venue, even if they have restrictions too, like around sound or how long like certain things can be at the venue. So, yeah, it's a lot to think of. And then also relaying that without feeling like pushy, because that's the other thing. I mean, I feel like sometimes I've heard from couples that they have felt rushed, not with us, but like with other experiences, with other. Because, like, sometimes, you'll hear somebody who's like, I got married and I had another planner, and they'll tell you that they were feeling rushed. And I'm like, I never want anyone to feel like that. But with these special things, you have to think about those kinds of factors too.
Yeah, and there's a lot that can delay your timeline. I mean, even just coordinating that with your photographer because your photographer can really make you late.
Yeah, so the nice thing with that is that with all of these, the photographers and the videographers knew very well that there was a tight timeline, and they knew like things that they had to do or if they could help us out. So I like over communicated to be sure that everyone knew. So like if you see a peacock, you get that peacock out of there.
I would much rather that because it's a better experience overall. And, I always try so hard to stick to the timeline. But, it in those situations, like you need to know the consequence of not sticking to the timeline for sure.
100%. And I know like we try to build in a buffer wherever we can, but sometimes that buffer is not enough. And And it's things that are like completely out of your control, like, someone's uncle showing up 15 minutes late to the ceremony, and it's really important that they be there.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes. Yeah. Or there's like rain, so you have to hold it back for like 10
Hmm.
minutes till the rain is going to clear, the shower is rolling through. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I had one wedding where we had, I think it was like 4 or 5 outfit changes, but it wasn't just outfit changes. And I found this out on the day of the wedding because I was told about all the outfit changes ahead of time. There was also hair changes with every outfit. And I got to give it to this hairstylist. Like she was putting out finger curls in like 15 minutes and like going from like an like all the way down to like an updo. So yeah, like we still like we were like maybe like 5-10 minutes off, but this hairstylist, magic.
Wow. That is impressive.
Very much so.
Wow. Because that also could be very exhausting for the person who's getting their hair done. That's,
Yeah, and I was thinking 15 minutes is enough for outfit changes because like there's so many buttons and zippers and all sorts of things. I didn't know we also needed to account for a hairstyle.
oh my God.
Yeah.
That is crazy. Wow. That's impressive. Whoever that hairstylist is, I mean, I'd be recommending them up and down.
Oh my gosh, I do. The only thing is that she comes with a travel fee because she doesn't live here in Victoria. So
Oh,
you want to pay the
man.
travel fee and you want that many hairstyle changes, she's your person.
Oh, man. Okay, what is one of the biggest challenges that you faced when planning a unique wedding like this?
Like that one in particular, or just anyone?
Any of your unique weddings. I know
Anyone.
you have so many to choose from.
Okay, I'm going to talk about our wedding. I think that's okay because we had a triple surprise and we kept it a secret for a year from our families. Well, except for like my brother-in-law because he was in on it, and we kept it a secret from like the majority of our friends. And it was really hard not to talk about the wedding because everyone wanted to know things about the wedding. So I would have to give them little details here and there. And then, of course, there was speculation going on and like bets were being made on like what the actual event was. But there was like three parts to it. So there was a surprise engagement party that we told everybody that my brother-in-law was throwing. And then he pretended to invite the family to dinner because he's like, oh, they don't know where they're going. We have to get them there. So that was the third element. So we surprised them at dinner with the ceremony and then sent them off to the reception, aka surprise engagement party. And then they had to keep it to themselves until everybody arrived, until we arrived, because we were going to be a little bit later to make sure everybody else had gotten there. And so then to top it all off, we asked my brother-in-law, who's also MC'd, to ask everyone to gather around the front door and yell surprise at us. Because, we had to like really like convince everybody. So we did, and then I thought an eternity went by after everyone yelled surprise, but apparently it was only a few seconds. And then Rob, my husband, popped in with, actually, you're at our wedding reception and we got married. And yeah, our videographers were fantastic. They decided that they were going to pretend to be having dinner at the next table over in the restaurant. And they like were looking for like the queue and stuff. And my mom, as soon as the cameras come out, she's like, "Are these people with you?" And we're like, "Yes, they are."
That's hysterical.
Yeah.
Wow. Why did you decide you wanted to do a triple surprise at your wedding?
So of course, the one upper that I am was like, everyone's doing surprise weddings. Let's do more. I'm like,
That's
we can't. We have to
amazing.
be extra trendy.
And what year did you get married?
We got married in 2019 and we gave everybody a fake wedding date in April 2020. And now looking back on it, like we were talking about, wow, we would have had to completely pivot if that was actually our wedding date. And like, would we have been okay with it? And the answer ended up being surprising both of us. It turned out that we would end up being okay with it as long as we could have our families. And at the time, we were allowed to have, I think, two witnesses, the commissioner and just us. So, yeah, it was definitely something we didn't have to think about, but we talked about it as like a what if situation.
Yeah, I'm glad you did
Yeah.
it that way because I mean that was tough. Like there are a lot of I'm sure there you dealt with so many disappointed people and I mean we did too. And so many delays and can hold up, like having a family and things, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, we went through quite a few challenges and like reiterations with a lot of our couples. And I know I'm not answering your question now, but we did have a couple that ended up getting married in the middle of a snowstorm. And myself, the commissioner, and the photographer, we made it like almost all the way to their venue. It's like in a deep um, part of Victoria that gets a lot of snow. And she'd sent me a photo the day before saying, "Oh, yeah, like everything's been plowed. You guys should be good." We get to like the bottom of this hill, and none of us can make it up the hill.
Oh
Uh,
no.
the hair and makeup artist made it because she had four-wheel drive. And I'm sitting here thinking, yeah, next time maybe we need four-wheel drive for the next vehicle we get. But they sent somebody down in a giant truck with big winter tires that came down and got all of us and got all the decorations and flowers and got us up that hill. And they ended up having a winter wonderland wedding, which was originally what she wanted. So it did work out in the end, but yeah, really on pins and needles all the way to get there because we don't really have snow here. We get it maybe like a couple times a year, so it's a little challenging.
Yeah, that's incredible. I bet the photos and everything were gorgeous.
Yes, definitely. And I mean, like it's so serendipitous too because their wedding was on Valentine's Day as well. And she that's what she wanted from the very beginning. That's what the
Oh,
plan was. So yeah, it worked out really well.
oh, I'm so happy for them. So, what is your favorite thing about planning these types of weddings, these like unique celebrations that do have logistical challenges, that also have a lot of surprise and excitement and experiential moments?
I really like it because I feel like you can get into that same, okay, this is what we do every time, and like that same old. And this kind of like challenges you to find different solutions and get out of like a rut. Because I did find for a little while we were kind of just doing the same thing over and over again because that's what couples wanted. And I noticed that it was also a piece of them not being educated on the fact that they could do something different. It was okay to go away from tradition. It was okay to make their own traditions. And as soon as like there was somebody around them that was encouraging that, which was mostly me, then their imaginations kind of ran wild. And it was then up to me to come up with a solution to what they had dreamt up.
I think that's so fun. I totally agree. I think a lot of times we just assume that it's something that we can't make happen. And I feel like this is your sign, all of you listeners out there, to ask and see if you can make it happen. Because if you can, it's going to be just incredible.
Exactly. And I mean, I always say this to people. I'm like, the worst they can say is no. That's the worst case scenario. And then we find some other solution or figure it out for another day.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, my final question for you is, what advice do you have for couples who want to incorporate these non-traditional experiences like what we've talked about in our wedding day in their wedding days?
Oh, okay. I would say planning as far in advance as possible is a really key thing here because I feel like these conversations for all of these things started happening at about like a year to 9 months out instead of closer to. And sometimes, like, small things like, having a motorcycle grand entrance, those things, yeah, you can figure that out closer to. But if it's involving other vendors and it's involving like almost your entire vendor team, then it's something that needs a lot more planning in advance. And like I was just saying too, you can just ask. And if they say no, then find another day, find another way.
I love it. This is so fun. I'm so glad that you were willing to come back on the wedding dish to talk about some of these things. Can you tell me, Radhika, where can people find you online?
I am mostly on Instagram. I really need to stop, but that's where I am. It's Radications. I started venturing out into threads, and there's also my website, radications.ca.
I love it. And we will, of course, hopefully share photos from this on our show notes and Instagram if you have them.
I can get you some.
Yes. Okay. I forgot to ask before we recorded. So we'll share photos so you can see what's actually possible and get some cool inspiration from Radications. And that'll be on our Instagram at the Wedding Dish Podcast and on our show notes, where you can also find all kinds of great stuff and connect at theweddingdishpodcast.com. I just appreciate you coming today so much. It's been so fun. And just Radhika, thank you for being here. You are amazing. I wish I had you planning my next wedding to the same person.
I mean, it could be arranged.
The worst that can happen is they say no. Everybody have a wonderful rest of your day. Give us a follow, rate, and review and all the good stuff. And until we meet again, cheers, everybody.